that's the whole point of what I do. Awareness isn't something you should stuff down people's throats. It takes time, and it takes, I don't want to say awareness, it takes a eureka moment when you realize, oh, that's what it means to be human. Because, like, if you asked each person in this room what it means to be human, you're going to hear different examples across the board, because we build these definitions not out of a book definition, but out of our experience and how we've had to navigate this experience up to this point. And that's what survival looks like for us. Because, no offense to anyone here, to be black is to survive and then to figure out, do I get to live? Like, we decide between survival and living, and then at a certain point we get to the, oh my God, I could live. And then once you get to the living point, it's, can I afford to live? And it's like, we're laughing because, like, we know the affordability of living isn't a very comfortable conversation with us, because after you realize, oh my God, I could afford to live, you can live too much, and then, damn, can I afford to be broke?
Right.
And that lane is very close within our community, because we see examples of it. We see NFL players, we see NBA players, we see rappers, we hear about the 360 deals, we hear about the Diddy situations and how most of the artists don't have money, and then we go back to, like, where was the team, where was the family, where was the knowledge, and then you go back to the family dynamic in terms of what we lack or what we don't have examples of, and then it's like, damn, that whole network, and it's like, yeah, no, that's us, that's each of us.
Right.
And to answer your question, that's where it starts, because it's like, it sounds very outlandish to connect all those things, but all of us, to be an adult means you had to be a kid at some point in your life.
Yeah.
And being a kid's a scary thought for me, because a lot of folks don't realize that adults are just bigger kids that grew up and eventually they had to start being responsible for something, and you don't have a choice. And a lot of folks is like, well, no, you have to grow up. It's like, do you have to grow up?
Yeah.
Because growing up, it looks different.
Kids with money. There's a saying that I've held with me since middle school, high school.
Mm-hmm.
Growing old is mandatory, but growing up is optional.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And in terms of tools, I've learned more outside of the classroom than inside of the classroom. And that's not a slight to the teachers. Also, teachers for me were teachers in high school. Those were teachers who cared. And then when you got to college, I came to the realization that at Catholic University, my teaching style was different from what's being taught here. So, like, my first year of college, I almost failed out. And my parents thought that I failed out because, like, he wasn't studying, he wasn't doing his work, he was being Mr. Popular. But for me in the classroom was, oh, I don't understand this teaching style, or how everyone, it's so easy for them, but not for me. But then also I came to the wall of, damn, I can't express this to my parents, because from my parents, it's like, we're from Jamaica, we're black, you're the kid who's supposed to either be the lawyer or the doctor, you figure it out, because we're paying for it.
My day. I got
to
this.
see why we're alike now.
I got a story about that, because
Hey,
I said that. I was in high school. I'm a first gen college student or whatever, and I was in high school though, and I was in trigonometry, or calculus, whatever, because I don't care about calculus.
I know.
But I was in calculus and I was getting like a D or F, and I was an A/B student, honor roll student, and it was like junior, senior year. I took the class because I thought it was gonna make me look good for college. Little did I know that's not the case. Okay. And then took it in college again and still got a D and F, and then I was like, you know what? I know this ain't me. I'm a social worker realistically. Yeah. But I was in there, and so my pops is good at math, but when it gets to the advanced calculus, he is different. For anybody, it's numbers, it's letters, it's signs, whatever. You know, it's crazy, right? So I'm hooping, right, playing ball on the school team. And pops comes, he's like, what you doing? I said, man, I don't understand it. You asking questions? I said, nah, not really. He was like, man, you gonna have to ask some questions in order to pass this class, or I'm gonna take you off the basketball team. And I said, yo, how you gonna take me off the basketball team? You ain't never took this class yourself, right? You ain't never took no advanced calculus or trig. How you gonna take me off the basketball team because I'm not understanding this? Mm-hmm. But see, the thought pattern for him was, this is my son. I gotta get him through school. I don't care what he's doing. Mm-hmm. I don't care if I don't understand it. You can't even help me with the homework.
Right.
You see?
I got to push you out there. I got to push you out there. And it's like, bro, I could have just dropped the class for real, realistically, and said, cut my losses. But because of their mindset, no, we getting you to college. This is gonna look good. You AB student in high school, you gonna do this thing. And it's like, yeah, you know. So
how do you think that, you know, with all the things that you guys have said, like how do you think that the black family dynamic in particular, how do you think that affects and impacts mental health of children, and then also the mental health of how you are as an adult?
It's the first foundation.
Yeah, it's foundation.
Foundation?
Yeah, it's the first
foundation.
It's the first
expand
example.
on what you mean by foundation.
Family is the first example of what structure looks like without someone using the word structure. Like when you're a kid, no one says, hey, this is your mom, this is your dad. Like people say, listen to your parents, but no one say, you have to listen to them. Because like for you as a kid, I don't know if anyone else has had this experience, excuse my language, if I messed up, it was a beating. It was an ass whooping of like astronomical proportions. So like,
take the basketball.
Yeah, a lot of people are like, your son, he's such a good son. It was like, nah, I lived in fear, fam. But unfortunately for my parents, when it came to structure, they were so desperate to have an example of a kid who succeeded. Because like, when you go deeper into their past, you think about like, as a Jamaican, you're going to make it to America and your kid is going to be successful. So when your kid's successful, we're all successful.
Expectations.
So you have that expectation. You have the people who've betrayed them on the way of trying to make it to America. Then you have making it to America and being met with Americans who are black who don't like you because you're not our form of black. And that goes into the family dynamic too, because my mom and dad have had to give me a lot of advice that I've proven wrong about Americans, but they didn't tell me about the stories of who fucked them over when they got here. They didn't, because as a parent, you don't want to let your kids know that your friends have screwed you over. You don't want to let your kids know that sometimes your family isn't your family. You want to set this example of, you have a chance to do better than I did, and I love you. And this form of love may not be what you want or need, but this is all I have to give.
This is all I know.
And as kids, when it comes to the family dynamic, they're the first examples of you recognizing love, understanding, and someone treating you right without someone saying, we're giving you these examples and here's the standard.
Right.
Like what Trey said with his daughter in terms of apologizing to her, in terms of her knowing how to treat people and to talk to people. I remember when he tweeted about him learning to apologize to his daughter. And I don't remember hearing a father of any kind say, I had to practice and learn that I do have to apologize to my kids. And how important that is, because kids need to understand that adults aren't always right.
Right.
Oh, I got a story for that real quick too.
Go.
It was... My daughter was with me riding. We went to Cars and Coffee last week.
Oh, we just had this talk.
Went to Cars and Coffee last week, and somehow I turned into a little car girl. And she's with me and my homies, like in the back seat riding, right? So it's hot outside. She's getting a little flustered, and she's getting a little upset. And then like she starts to cry towards the end. So I said, "What's going on? What's wrong?" She says, And this is me setting that standard, right? So where she can communicate and express what's really going on with her. Because at one point she was like. She's crying. She started to cry, and she'll be like, oh, I'm crying. Oh, your shoe is untied. That don't make no sense. Why your shoe is untied? What you crying for? Get to the big of it. She lost her toy or something like that. So rearranging and being direct with what she feels, right? So now it's coming out. So we in there. She starts crying. She's like, I didn't have no friends to play with, Daddy. And I was like, but you could have. My man's friend, little children right over there, right? You know, she could have just went over there. She was on me. She was waiting for me to give her the go.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay.
Because that's how it works for her.
Yeah. So I was like, and plus it's me.
Yeah.
If it was her mom, it would have been a little bit different. I'm a little bit more protective, which is kind of opposite, right? I'm like a hawk like this. Y'all see that owl? That there was like a video of an owl where he was watching something. The owl was going back and forth like this.
Mm-hmm.
That's me as a
She
parent.
wanted permission to leave the confines of dad's hand.
Yeah, and my friends who she considers her friends too.
Mm.
But the second piece, what got me right,
Squad.
the second piece that got me was, she said, and we was in the car crying. Now we get in the car. I'm tucking her home. Me in the car, my homies. Let's go. It's too hot. And she says, Dad, we start talking about it. And then she kept crying again. She was like, I was like, what's wrong? What's going on? She was like, I said, excuse me, when you were talking. You didn't say nothing to me.
Dang. Oh, that's a moment.
And I was like, it still make a little emotional. And I was like,
Yeah.
you didn't say nothing to me. You kept talking. I got upset by that. And so I'm in the group in the car full of my homies.
Uh-huh.
I turned around the light. I said, I'm sorry. I didn't hear you.
Yeah.
Do you forgive me? She was like, yeah. She was like, you gonna come ride me? I said, you gonna ride with us again? She was like, yeah, I ride with y'all. But I was like,
Dang.
Right.
That's
then
a
you get
moment.
because
those
she
kids,
did
who-
everything right. She said,
Yeah.
Right,
excuse
yep.
me, Daddy.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't hear her. I didn't acknowledge her. So she felt the way by that. Like, yo, you ain't acknowledged me, son. Like, what's going on with
Right.
you? Like, you know, that's my her voice in my head when she's talking to me sometimes.
Like,
Can
what's
I ask
up?
you?
What's
can
good?
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
How would you have handled it if she said no
What?
after asking for forgiveness?
Oh.
If she had said no?
Yeah.
Grudges.
Like because I think as adults, we're used to a lot of kids saying yes to us, but adults don't do a good job of kids saying no. So like
Yeah.
aunts and uncles that kids may not like and may not want to hug. And the parents, instead of saying, no, you know what, they don't want to hug, that's cool, the family forcing the dynamic, nah, hug them because
No.
but they said
Right.
no.
If she had said no, then I would have to respect what she felt and what she said.
Would you have brought it up later to talk to her later, where it's like no one there and just you and her?
Yeah. I would have talked to her on a one-on-one basis afterwards to make sure everything is good. And if she said, "No, Daddy, I ain't feeling you no more, man. I'm about to go, do something else.
Get my own
I ain't
job.
got you no more.
Right.
You gotta eat that."
Simple context, we were talking about regards to the nose.
Mm-hmm.
So, context-wise, my mom and my grandmother, rest in peace, she passed away prior to the pandemic. I'll say they had a very interesting relationship and leave it at that. With that in mind, my mom told me various stories over the course of my childhood. I don't remember doing this, but I've been told this multiple times, but there was this one of these times when my mom, my dad, my sister and I were just visiting my grandma. And she was just kind of like, like really uppity at the moment. And from what they said, I apparently just grabbed my bag, whatever I had, and like told myself, she's like, what are you doing? It's like, I'm packing my bag, we're leaving, I don't like you. And my grandma was like, you can't talk, like, you can't do that. And my mom's like, you said we're leaving. So my mom has not always been perfect.
Mm-hmm.
But if y'all are familiar with the book Siddhartha, I feel like I've lived that life, and having been in very low points, having tried to ask for what I thought was a community, a burner community, for help, and seeing who my real friends are, I get my mom and I get her rage a lot better. And I'm
So-
learning to just like make it work. in a
Yeah.
way
You
that
start to
helps
understand it, yeah.
others. Yeah.
So through your life experiences, you've been able to kind of put your own experience of the black family dynamic into perspective and seeing how that translate to work for you. So
To an extent.
I
yeah,
have,
what it,
'Cause
yeah.
Yeah,
For
'cause
me-
I got hats.
Yeah. I got,
Cheat
yeah.
codes.
Because I can be a therapist and a mental health advocate and that, but then I can also give it up differently to my family.
Yeah,
Go
Keith
ahead,
is
Marcus.
about to drop
Go
a
ahead, Keith. Go
bomb.
No, I wasn't.
I felt it.
Yeah, I'm thinking about this question because honestly, for me, I think the black family structure is much stronger than the white people. I'm gonna keep it a bean, and any other family structure.
Give examples.
Yeah, no, absolutely.